here, and welcome back once again to another vlog video. I apologize for my wet hair, but I was an absolute mess just a few minutes ago, so I needed a shower. Anyway, let's get into what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Now, if you've been on my channel for any length of time, you would know that I am an artsy, creative person. I like all different types of crafts, from drawing and coloring to painting to all different kinds of things that I can do creatively. I do. So I've been spending a lot of time recently on the art side of YouTube. I mean, not that making YouTube videos in itself is not art and does not take skill, because it is, and it does, and it is another way to be creative. You just have different parameters of stuff. But I've been spending time on the art side of YouTube, and I've been coming across a lot of these professional artists color children's coloring books. And I found that really fascinating, and it's insane to see what some of those artists do with those coloring books. And there was one that I came across that I'm just going to look at the name of right now, and that's Chloe Rose Art. And she did something a little different. So I went out, I got myself a good old children's coloring book. Now at this point, the painting is already done. I just cannot handle it right now. I just put the clear coat on before getting in the shower, and I'm filming this video directly after I've gotten out of the shower. So I can't really handle the actual painting, because it is very much still sticky and gloppy with the clear coat, and I don't want to handle it too much and damage the clear coat, therefore damaging the painting. So I'm not going to actually have the painting in front of me, so I apologize. But I am a person that very much likes to take pictures of each step of my artwork, just because I like to look back on where I started to where I ended up and everything in between. I like to look back on that to see how I progressed. So I oftentimes take many photos of my process, even though people might not see that. So I went to good old Hobby Lobby. I got me a wood slab for about, I think it was $14. I've never tried to paint on wood before, because I normally paint on 8x10 canvases that are already acrylic primed. I don't know why specifically 8x10. I just feel like they're not too small, they're not too bulky, and they're not way too big to where I'm spending an entire week on one painting, which sometimes I do that anyway, but that's because I get lazy and slack on stuff. So this is normally my preferred medium, and I apologize. I know it's shiny because this one's new and I haven't taken the plastic off yet. Taken is not a word. Anyway, doesn't matter. So what I did was I got in my Frozen book here. Obviously these are not my characters, and I'm just using this as a reference form. So I got in my good old Frozen coloring book here, which I for sure am going to color. And I picked the wrong side. I picked the water spirit from the second movie, because it was the most visually eye-catching to me. I like horses for one, and it just looks absolutely awesome. And there's a lot of blank space at the top that gave me a lot of creativity in the background to work with. Now, like I said, this was just my starting point. I did not fully copy this, and you'll see the finished thing in a minute. So I ended up ripping this out, and I was going to originally Mod Podge this one to the paper, but then I realized, oh, that probably won't work because there's something on the back of it. So I didn't want this image to show through and damage the lines of this image after Mod Podging it. So what you did was you took the wood block and you took the Mod Podge and you put the picture you wanted face down on the wood piece and Mod Podged it together. If you don't want to wait for it to dry, just use a hair dryer and it should take it half the time. So that's what I did. And I was really worried that this was not actually going to work, but it came out looking really good. You had to carefully scrape off the remaining paper though, but it looks cool. I mean, look at it. It looks pretty darn cool and comes out looking pretty smooth. So the first thing I did was I started with the background, and I knew obviously that because this is a water horse and because it's in the water and flowing, I wanted to make it a night scene and make it darker. So that's where I started, and it started out looking really patchy, and I was starting to get really worried that this was not going to work out because I've never painted on wood before and I'm still a fairly new painter, so it was very scary. I thought it was easily going to get messed up, but I'm like, don't panic, it's just the first coat, it'll be fine if you don't freak out. So I kept going with it, and then it eventually got to looking very flat, and I lost all my lines. So I'm kind of glad that me and my grandma ended up scanning our drawings and printing them out, because I still had this drawing as my frame of reference to be able to bring back a lot of my lines and erase some that I didn't want. Now, so once I got it looking very flat and got the base colors all nice and solid, I then went ahead and used these, they're Micron pens, and they're very nice. I've never used these, well, that's a lie. I used them like when I was 10. And I'm 24 at this point, so it's been quite a long time. And the last thing I used these kinds of pens on were dominoes, because me and my grandma turned a domino into a necklace piece, which I actually still have. It is up in my closet somewhere, but I do still have it. So that's the only experience I've had with these, and I've forgotten that I even used these. But I used this to bring back my lines, because I was really worried that the paint brushes I have, as small as they are, would not be small enough to get the best detail. So I used this pen instead, and it was actually really nice. I was honestly scared that it was going to smudge when I put the paint over it and just be a horrible mess. I was not enthusiastic about going forward because I was just worried I was going to ruin it, and I had already spent so much time on getting the background color nice and solid. I didn't prep my surface of the wood or anything, I just went straight for it. There was no sanding or anything like that. So then it ended up looking like this. And I'm actually going to say these pens, these Micron pens, they come in all different sizes. And they tell you the size on them, if you can see that. They tell you the size on them. I used the thinnest one, I believe, but they're nice pens, so that helped a lot. And I used my reference to know where most of the lines were. Now, I will say that mine for sure ended up looking a lot less aggressive. I don't know if I did the lines wrong, because the image ended up flipped on the wood piece because you had to put it down on it, so it ended up flipping itself. But I kind of like it a lot more soft. It's more majestic and less aggressive. I'm not someone that's really aggressive, and I like my art to be nice and relaxing and calming, not, oh my goodness, this art looks like it's going to attack me. So I kind of like that the lines ended up softer, and it was just worked out nicely. And like I said, this was just a reference. It didn't have to look the same. Now, with the lines back, it still looked very flat, and then it looked very unfinished. So that's when I ended up going ahead with the darker shadows. And I started out with the darker shadows because I wanted to know exactly where the dark values were going to be and exactly where those were first, because for me it's easier to do the darker values so I don't overdo my lighter values. Does that make sense? Because sometimes I feel like when I do the lighter values first, it ends up being way too bright, and then there's nothing I can do without making it look like a muddy mess. So I do my shadows first, and it ended up being very nice. I used black on the dark blue and dark blue on the light blue for the shadows, going with really slight brush strokes with barely any paint on the brush. So, and sometimes I did mess up and have to go back over with the original paint color, but it's fine. It came out fine. And then I was like, now I can start working on the background. Now that I have my darker shadows and I know what I want to do with the background, let's do the background. I wanted the lighter values to be last so I could play around more with the light source. I'm not too picky about my light sources, and as long as it looks like it's relatively where the light would hit, that's fine. So then I added in a moon. It ended up looking very cartoonish at first, but then I finished up the moon, added some dotty stars, which really brought the piece together, but I was like, okay, it's still missing something. The moon and the stars really helped it, and the dark shadows helped pop the horse out more, but it needs the lighter values. So then I went back and I put even less white on my brush, just dotting it on my board that I used to paint on until there was barely anything in the brush. Like if you touched it, it would leave like a little scrape of paint, not too gloppy. And I just went through and started lining everywhere I wanted the light values to be, and I think that that really finished off the piece. And for me, being as terrified as I was that I was going to absolutely wreck this painting and that I was going to waste all this money and all this paint, I am pleasantly surprised on how it came out. Sorry, my neighbors. But I am pleasantly surprised on how it came out, and I think that I honestly surprised myself, and I think it came out great, and I really, really, really love it. I wish I could show you the real one, but I did put it on my Instagram, which I did just start because I've been wanting a better place to put my art aside from a group on MeWe. I wanted a more easily findable place to put my art. So I will put the link to my YouTube, or I'm on YouTube right now, my Instagram below. If you want to check it out, go ahead. I'm not trying to plug. I'm just informing you that if you want to see the original painting, then you can do that. But it's right here if you don't. I just cannot show you because it's going to take 24 hours for that coat to dry, and it won't be done drying until almost 6:30 tomorrow. So I apologize that I can't have the physical painting here right now. I just don't want to mess with it because clear coat's not dry and I don't want to damage it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little art video slash vlog video. I really do love Hobby Lobby. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I just think that they are the best place to go for all your hobby needs. The staff is always really nice, and they always seem to have the best sales. Like every time I go in that store, there's a huge sale. And I don't go there on sale days. I don't know when they're having sales or not. But yeah, Hobby Lobby is my absolute favorite place to go for all things art related. So, alright. I don't know if you enjoyed this, but I like sharing my art with you and having yet another place to keep my art safe and memorable. So, if you guys enjoyed, I hope you did, and I hope to see you next time. Bye guys. Messed that outro up, didn't I? I can't talk today. Okay, bye.